Have you come across problem spots in the music you're practicing and you just feel like there's nothing you can do to fix your technique? It's like no matter what you try, nothing seems to help and your technique just isn't clean. Well, I have a practice strategy that'll help, and it's one that musicians have been using for centuries. I know these as altered rhythms, but I've also heard them called uneven rhythms or note isolation exercises. The idea is to use rhythmic patterns to practice holding out different notes in a technical passage. Our brains work in really incredible ways, and we can take advantage of this by thinking about how we learn tasks. Specifically, we're talking about myelination, which is the neural process of myelin sheath formation. You can read more about it by checking out links in the description below, but myelin sheaths form around our neurons as a result of thoughtful and deliberate repetition, and that's the key to clean technique. Okay, so back to these altered rhythms. We'll use this technical excerpt as an example. We have several measures of 16th notes, and there are a few really tricky moments in here. What we're going to do is use a few different rhythmic patterns to help our fingers and our brains develop the flexibility and control to play this passage cleanly. We're going to develop those myelin sheaths we were talking about earlier. The first set of patterns can be thought of as dotted rhythms. Or you could think about there being two groups of two notes, with each group containing a short note and a long note. In my simplified notation, I use tenuto marks to denote the long note for each group. The most important thing is to keep the beat steady. Even as you're playing around with the speed of these long and short notes, it's super important that the first note is directly on the beat and the third note is on the upbeat. It's very easy to allow yourself to rush ahead of the beat, but work to keep the time rock solid, and always use a metronome for these exercises. Here's an example of what those patterns sound like when they're being applied to the excerpt from Joel's concerto. Pattern 2 can be particularly tricky. Make absolutely certain your time is correct and that the first note is directly on the beat and the third note is exactly on the upbeat. It's really common for this to accidentally turn into the first rhythmic pattern, but with the notes offset. It's crucial you're really doing two different rhythms in this exercise. Otherwise, you're losing out on major gains. Here's an example of what I'm talking about. Yeah, I started on the beat, but by beat 2, I've totally turned the rhythm into the first pattern, and my short notes are landing ahead of the beat. You might have to practice waiting longer on the long notes to make this really happen. Those two patterns are just groups of two, but there are super beneficial four-note patterns as well. The focus of these patterns is to hold out one note and then quickly and cleanly move through the other three while keeping the pulse steady. These might seem complicated or even intimidating, but the concept is simple. Each pattern just picks a different note to hold within the set of four. Once you understand the sound and the feel of the patterns, they're pretty easy to use. Okay, so you've taken the time to learn these patterns. So now what? Approach the patterns the same way you would anything. Start slow and speed up gradually. The end game goal is to be able to play the patterns at the performance tempo. This might not actually be possible if your performance tempo is really fast, but hey, life's about the journey. Push those patterns as fast and as cleanly as you can, and you'll find it's much easier to play the written rhythms. But wait, there's more. What if the music you're playing isn't grouped in four? What if it's in triplets or sextuplets? Well, there are plenty of rhythmic patterns we can use, and really there's no limit. Here are a few to get you started. And that's it. With these tools, you can begin to clean up any technical issues in whatever you're playing. Yeah, even that. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you can check future videos, and if you have suggestions for other topics, let me know in the comments. Have a great day, and happy practicing!